You're kind, you're thoughtful, you show up for people, you don't cause drama, and yet for reasons that seem to defy logic, some people resent you, dislike you, even quietly undermine you. Carl Jung saw this pattern over and over again in his work. He understood something most people don't. Kindness, especially when it's authentic and unshakable, can trigger others in ways you'd never expect. But why? Why would being good make people turn cold? Jung believed it all starts with the shadow, the unconscious part of the psyche, where people bury what they can't accept about themselves. For many, this includes anger, jealousy, insecurity, and feelings of inadequacy. And here's the key. When someone hasn't faced their own shadow, they become deeply uncomfortable around people who reflect qualities they've suppressed. So when you're kind, grounded, and consistent, especially in the face of chaos, you inadvertently shine a light on their inner turmoil. You remind them of what they're not doing, of what they've abandoned in themselves. Your presence becomes a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see. This discomfort often takes shape as projection. Jung defined projection as the act of unconsciously assigning your own disowned traits to someone else. For example, a person who feels secretly inadequate may project arrogance onto you, simply because you carry yourself with quiet confidence. A person who feels emotionally numb might label your warmth as fake or manipulative because they've lost touch with their own capacity for genuine connection. The more authentic you are, the more threatening you become to people who are still performing. And this is where it gets twisted. You may think, but I've never judged them. I don't act superior. I just want peace. And you're right. But to someone who's deep in shadow, your peace is a threat. It challenges their narrative that life is hostile, that people can't be trusted, or that kindness always comes with strings attached. In fact, Jung warned that unresolved shadow often makes people allergic to light, not because light is harmful, but because it exposes the parts of themselves they've spent years avoiding. So what do? They attack it, or dismiss it, or quietly sabotage it. You'll notice the signs: passive-aggressive comments, backhanded compliments, a sudden coolness when you succeed, subtle exclusion from social settings. These aren't accidents. They're defense mechanisms, ways for people to feel powerful again, by dimming your light rather than facing their own shadow. It's heartbreaking, especially when it comes from people you love. But Jung would tell you, don't take it personally. Their reaction isn't about your kindness. It's about their repression. Carl Jung often emphasized that the greatest tension in human relationships arises not from outright malice, but from unconscious conflict. That's exactly what happens when you offer genuine kindness to someone whose internal world is in disarray. They can't meet your kindness directly. They don't have the emotional tools for it, so they twist it, distort it, reinterpret it through the lens of their unresolved pain. Let's say you offer someone help with no expectation in return. Instead of gratitude, you receive suspicion. Why are you being so nice? Or maybe they quietly distance themselves from you, as if your presence suddenly became uncomfortable. In reality, your generosity might have awakened their shame. Shame for not being as giving, as open, or as emotionally available. Jung believed that when someone feels inferior, but cannot admit it, they often react with hostility toward the very traits they secretly admire. Your kindness, then, becomes a threat, not because of anything you did wrong, but because of how it makes them feel about themselves. It's not just about jealousy, it's about discomfort with self. Jung would say that those who haven't made peace with their inner world project that unrest outward. They externalize blame. Instead of asking, why does this kindness trigger me? They ask, what's wrong with this person that they're being so fake, or intense, or too much? And here's the trap. If you're a naturally kind or empathetic person, you may internalize their reaction. You might start doubting your motives. You might tone yourself down. You might even try harder to please them, thinking that if you just explain yourself better, they'll finally see your heart. But Jung warned against this cycle. He said that the moment you betray your authentic self to win someone's acceptance, you've entered into a form of psychic self-abandonment. You're now dimming your light to soothe someone else's shadow. This doesn't just hurt you, it reinforces the dynamic. It teaches the other person, unconsciously, that their defense mechanisms work, that guilt-tripping, coldness, or passive aggression will make others adjust around their wounds instead of addressing them. Over time, if you're not careful, this drains your spirit. You begin to feel anxious in relationships, hyper-vigilant around your kindness, unsure of when or how to express what feels natural to you. Jung's advice: stay rooted. Don't stop being kind, but do become discerning. Kindness without boundaries isn't generosity. It's self-erasure. And people who can't receive your kindness with openness aren't necessarily bad. They're unhealed. Your job is not to fix them. It's to protect your energy while remaining true to your essence. One of the hardest lessons Jung's work teaches us is this: just because your intentions are pure doesn't mean your impact will be received as such, especially by those who haven't done their own inner work. That's why your kindness might be interpreted as manipulation. Your calm might be seen as arrogance. Your confidence mistaken for superiority. And this is where the danger lies. You might begin to question yourself, not because you did anything wrong, but because you're being met with distorted mirrors. Jung referred to these moments as opportunities for individuation, the process of separating who you truly are from who the world projects you to be. The more conscious you become, the more you realize it's not your job to manage someone else's discomfort with your light. That doesn't mean you become cold. It means you stop over-explaining. You stop trying to fix their perception. You let them carry their projections, while you stay rooted in clarity. Think about how this plays out in daily life. You offer someone support. They pull away. You celebrate a success, and they grow distant. You express love, and they freeze. It's not you. It's their unprocessed fear, shame, or envy reacting to something they don't yet understand, your self-possession. Jung warned that people with fractured egos tend to misread groundedness as a threat. Because if you've built your identity on defense mechanisms, on sarcasm, on cynicism, on control, then someone who leads with openness challenges that entire foundation. Your emotional fluency, your steadiness, your capacity for presence. These things highlight what others may have lost or never developed. And rather than facing that inner gap, it's easier for them to blame you. They might say you're fake, or too much, or not who you used to be. But all that really means is you've grown beyond the version of yourself that made them feel comfortable. Jung believed that psychological maturity isn't just about knowing yourself. It's about holding your truth in the face of misunderstanding. Not everyone will applaud your evolution. Some will resent it because it forces them to confront their own stagnation. So what can you do? First, stop chasing approval. The more you contort yourself to be liked, the more disconnected you become from your center. Second, don't take projection personally. It's a reflection of them, not a reflection on you. Third, allow yourself to grieve. Grieve the relationships that can't grow with you. Grieve the friends who now feel distant. Grieve the pain of being misread. Because once you move through that grief, you enter a deeper kind of freedom, the kind Jung said is only available to those who have chosen authenticity over attachment. There's something incredibly liberating, yet undeniably painful about realizing that your kindness isn't universally welcomed. Carl Jung recognized this paradox as part of the spiritual and psychological journey toward wholeness. As you evolve, your presence will either inspire others to grow or threaten their comfort zones. Some people simply aren't ready for the version of you that's fully embodied. That's not an insult. It's a reflection of where they are on their own path. And if you're not aware of this, you may unconsciously shrink yourself to protect their fragility. This is especially true for those who've spent much of their lives as people pleasers. You've been taught that kindness equals compliance. That love means self-sacrifice. That being liked is more important than being real. But Jung urged us to question that conditioning. He believed that love without boundaries isn't noble. It's chaotic. It breeds resentment, confusion, and ultimately, manipulation. Because when you prioritize others' comfort over your own truth, you're not being kind, you're being complicit in your own erasure. You've probably experienced this firsthand. You set a boundary, and suddenly you're difficult. You express a need, and you're too much. You pull back to protect your peace, and you're labeled cold or selfish. But these labels aren't based on who you are. They're based on who others need you to be in order to stay comfortable. Jung referred to this as the conflict between the persona and the self. The persona is the mask you wear, the agreeable version of you that earns approval. The self is your deeper truth complex, imperfect and unapologetically human. As you grow, the gap between those two widens, and eventually, you're faced with a choice: continue performing or start living honestly. Choosing honesty means accepting that some relationships will fall away. Some people only like the version of you who made them feel safe, small, or needed. When you stop playing that role, the relationship no longer serves their unconscious narrative. And here's where many people get stuck. They confuse rejection with failure. They think, if someone dislikes my truth, maybe I should go back to being who I was. But Jung would say that this discomfort is not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's evidence that you're waking up. As you begin to prioritize your internal compass over external validation, you'll notice something else. Your peace expands. Your intuition sharpens. Your relationships become fewer, but far more fulfilling. Because now, you're not bonding over mutual wounds or shared illusions. You're connecting from truth, from clarity, from self-respect. And the people who can meet you there, those are your people. Carl Jung often said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But that privilege comes with a price. Because once you become who you truly are, once you no longer hide behind people-pleasing, performative humility, or emotional labor for ungrateful people, you will be misunderstood. And not just by strangers, by friends, by co-workers, even by family. You might notice the shift. People who once praised your kindness now accuse you of being distant. People who once leaned on your emotional support now resent your boundaries. Why? Because they were never relating to you. They were relating to the version of you that served their needs. Jung warned that many relationships are based not on mutual respect, but on unconscious agreements. I will play small if you give me affection. I will overextend if you make me feel needed. I will abandon myself if you validate me. These dynamics are fragile, and when you begin to break them, when you stop over-explaining, over-giving, over-functioning, those agreements fall apart. You're no longer emotionally available on demand. You're no longer a mirror for someone else's insecurity. You've stopped enabling dysfunction, and that will look like betrayal to those who benefited from it. But here's what Jung emphasized. You are not responsible for someone else's emotional growth. You can be compassionate without sacrificing your integrity. You can be kind without becoming a doormat. You can love someone and still choose distance when their unhealed parts become toxic to your spirit. This is one of the hardest shifts to accept, that sometimes the more whole you become, the more you outgrow the roles you used to play. And that loss, it's real. You'll mourn the friendships that fade. You'll ache for the closeness that's no longer possible. You'll question if you're being too much or too cold. But as Jung would remind us, individuation, becoming whole, is not about comfort, it's about truth. And truth often costs us the approval of those who only loved our mask. That's why Jung taught that we must learn to stand alone, not in isolation, but in sovereignty. You have to become your own anchor, your own validation, your own safe space. Because not everyone will understand your growth, but the ones who do, they'll never ask you to dim your light to stay close. So keep being kind, but not at your own expense. Keep being generous, but with boundaries. Keep loving, but from a place of strength, not sacrifice. And if that love is too much for someone still living in their shadow, let them go. There's a deeper layer to all of this that Carl Jung pointed to, often the spiritual and archetypal weight of kindness. He didn't see kindness as weakness. He saw it as a radical act, a conscious choice, a rebellion against cynicism, projection, and unconscious fear. When you're kind, especially consistently, you are living proof that a different way is possible. That triggers people because it exposes the parts of them still living in reaction, still operating through defense, still waiting to be disappointed. This is why some people will resent your kindness, not because of who you are, but because of what you represent. You represent the part of them they've suppressed, the version of themselves they've betrayed, the softness they buried, the optimism they mocked, the dreams they abandoned. You remind them that life doesn't have to be cold, guarded, or transactional. And for someone who's spent years building walls to survive, that realization doesn't feel liberating. It feels terrifying. Jung described this as a confrontation with the self, the whole, integrated part of a person that knows who they truly are, beyond trauma, roles, and conditioning. But not everyone is ready for that confrontation. So instead of embracing what your presence evokes, they reject it, not because it's wrong, but because it's too honest. And still, you're left with the fallout, the tension, the distance, the confusion. You're left wondering, what did I do wrong? The answer is nothing. You were simply real in a space that couldn't hold reality. So what do you do when your light draws shadows? You hold steady. You stop trying to convince people of your goodness. You stop auditioning for love. You let your consistency speak louder than their projections. You also learn how to differentiate between healthy challenge and toxic projection. The former says, I want to understand you better. The latter says, you need to be less so I can feel more. And the clearer you get on that distinction, the less time you spend trying to win over people who are allergic to the truth. Remember, your kindness isn't a marketing strategy. It's not a tactic to be liked. It's an expression of your essence. And if someone can't receive it with grace, that's not your flaw. It's their limitation. As Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The inverse is also true. Everything that irritates others about you often reveals something they're not ready to face. So let your kindness irritate the unhealed. Let your presence disturb the performative. Let your truth create space where only real connection can survive. Eventually, a strange clarity sets in. It's not your job to be liked by everyone. It's not your duty to maintain harmony at the cost of your authenticity. And it's definitely not your responsibility to dim your light just because it casts shadows on others who refuse to look inward. Carl Jung believed that individuation, the journey toward psychological wholeness, requires you to face the tension of being misunderstood, to hold your truth even when others project onto it, to keep showing up as your full self even when it triggers discomfort in those who haven't done the same work. This is where true peace begins, not in being liked, but in being known to yourself. As you begin to embrace this, you'll also find a new kind of power. The power to walk away without bitterness. The power to set boundaries without guilt. The power to be kind and strong, compassionate and clear, generous and discerning. You'll stop pouring energy into relationships that ask you to shrink. You'll stop chasing closure from people who were never capable of meeting you in your fullness. You'll stop negotiating with projections. Instead, you'll conserve your energy for the people who see you, not through the lens of their wounds, but through the clarity of mutual respect. Jung emphasized that wholeness includes both light and shadow. You can be kind and fierce, loving and assertive, warm and unapologetic. This integration is the antidote to the projections that make people fear you simply because you're free. And that's what this is really about. Freedom, when you are truly kind, not performatively kind, but deeply grounded in empathy and self-awareness. You're living in a kind of emotional sovereignty that many people haven't accessed. It's rare, and what is rare is often misunderstood, feared, or rejected. But that's not your burden to carry. Your only task is to remain true, to let your kindness be clean, not manipulative, not self-sacrificial, not strategic, just rooted, honest, whole. And in that space, you'll begin to attract others who are also doing the work, who won't flinch at your truth, who won't punish your depth, who won't run from your light. You'll discover a new kind of community, not one built on codependence or conformity, but on mutual growth, realness, and resonance. By now, you may have realized that this journey of staying kind in a world that often misinterprets, it isn't easy. But Carl Jung would say, it's necessary, because the world doesn't need more people who are nice just to fit in. It needs people who are authentically kind, even when it costs them approval, even when it's lonely, even when it's misunderstood. And yes, it will be misunderstood. But with time, something shifts. You stop explaining your kindness. You stop defending your intentions. You begin to walk with quiet confidence, not because everyone gets you, but because you finally get yourself. You begin to live in alignment, not just with your values, but with your energy. You start paying attention to where your presence is welcomed versus where it's merely tolerated. You stop chasing connections that require you to prove your worth. And in that space of inner clarity, you find peace, not the shallow peace of people-pleasing, but the deep peace of integrity. Jung believed that when we live from the true self, rather than the false self, the persona, we invite life to meet us at our level of truth. That may mean fewer connections, but it also means truer ones. You'll stop attracting people who need you to stay small. Instead, you'll meet those who are also committed to depth, to self-awareness, to real healing. They won't be threatened by your kindness. They'll feel safe in it, because they've done the work to feel safe in themselves. And that's the final lesson Jung would want you to remember. When someone hates you, rejects you, or distances themselves because of your kindness, it's not a reflection of your failure. It's a revelation of their shadow. Don't stop being kind. Just stop giving it to people who weaponize it. So here you are, still kind, but no longer naive. Still open-hearted, but no longer wide open to everyone. You've learned that kindness doesn't mean overextending, over-explaining, or over-sacrificing. It means showing up with integrity, without abandoning yourself. Carl Jung believed that when we integrate the full spectrum of who we are, the soft and the strong, the loving and the discerning, we stop being manipulated by others' projections. We no longer bend to be accepted. We stand whole. You may not be universally liked, but you'll be deeply respected by those who matter. So stay kind, but stay powerful. Stay generous, but stay grounded. And never again confuse being nice with being available to those who drain you. If this message speaks to your experience, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your presence may just be the permission someone else needs to honor their truth. 2.